I think ever since we've had Lehman, when there is a specific company in the financial sector that is into some kind of headwind, into some kind of turmoil, a lot of media attention, immediately people jump to this comparison, which is understandable because we know in the financial sector, in the banking sector, expectations can sometimes create their own reality. And we should never ignore that. It's one of the key lessons we've had from the financial crisis, from Lehman Brothers. So in that sense we should take this very seriously. On the other hand, if you look into the sort of fundamental analysis, the state of the balance sheet, what has happened in the European banking sector, regulation, the increase in capital, more than 250 billion has been raised in capital in the banking system in Europe over the last 7 years. And if you look at the reason for the recent turmoil, this fine in the US, which will not be as high as the initial headlines suggested, I think there's a lot of reasons to see this very different than a Lehman case. But still, you need to be cautious on this. And I think you can very well understand why people are nervous if these type of big institutions jump into the headlines.
Do you expect this, let's call it a crisis, at least of small proportions, to continue? Because there might and seems to be other banks on the chopping block. Commerzbank under pressure, British Barclays, one of the institutions that are also being looked at by the US authorities, and so on and so on. So do you expect other banks to come under sort of a microscope of
well, I think there is a reason to expect new headlines across a number of individual companies. I think it is too much to really label it a crisis. A crisis in a sense that it is threatening the whole system, and that the banking system itself could threaten the whole economy underlying it, which happened in Lehman Brothers, which was the case at some point in the euro crisis. That is not the situation that we are in right now. So I do think the system as a whole is much more robust, and these individual stories will be very important for these companies and the way the stock prices of these companies develop. But we are not yet, in my opinion, at a situation where really they will threaten the Eurozone or the Eurozone banking system as a whole.